maybe you've been doing all the things that you've been told to do to move up in your company. So you've gotten the mentors and you've found people to sponsor you, and it's still not getting you where you want to go. That's because mentors can only help you with what they know. And it takes sometimes, most of the time, a leadership development professional to really help a leader grow in all of the ways that they need to grow to be able to move up to the higher ranks. I'm Jill Avey, a career success coach, and this is Sister Smart Leadership, the show that explores how women can rise from director to vice president and beyond by fully leaning into their feminine energy as their biggest advantage. Let's get you one step closer to the recognition and promotion you deserve. I'm really excited for you to meet Christel today because this was her experience when we first met, and she has gone from that experience to moving up to an incredible role where she's making a huge impact at her company, and I can't wait for you to hear her story. So, Christel, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jill, and it's a pleasure to be here. My first podcast.
I'm so excited for you to get your story out to the world because you've been a really inspiring client of mine and so much fun to work with this past year in the SisterSmart Elite program. And so I would love for you to share a little bit of your journey and, what it was like when we first met and what were some of the things that you were struggling with.
Absolutely. So I joined my company about 5 years ago. I transitioned within the industry from one company to another. So relatively new to the business. And at the time, I was getting a lot of visibility, a lot of leadership programs, exposure to all the right leaders. And I had a lot of mentors, but I was frustrated because I felt at the time that a lot of the guidance that I received, it was all very good guidance, but it wasn't specific to me and my experience. It was more coming from a place of my mentors, of their learnings and things that were very unique to them. And I really didn't have the time to do a self help program on my own. And I felt that that would be a longer path to get where I wanted to be and to gain a good understanding. So I did a lot of research, looked on LinkedIn, and thought of the path of an executive coach, and that's what brought me to you, Jill.
Oh, that was so great when we first met. Um, Tell me a little bit about the mentorship experience and some of the limitations that everybody can find with mentorship.
So your mentors, they're great people. They're giving their time, and the higher you are in a business, they're very important people. And so there's a lot of schedule changes, rescheduling. There's a lot of I join the call, they maybe will join 10 minutes late. It's, something that you have to take along with the mentorship program. And they come from a great place. They're trying to share their insight, what they've learned in their careers, but it's unique to their experience. And so I was able to ask questions, but I would probably get about 30 minutes a month if we didn't have a reschedule and if it both calendars aligned. And so if you really want to do a deep immersion and gain a better understanding and really continuous improvement is something very important to you, they're great to network with, but I don't know how much learning you'll really get at an accelerated pace if that's what you need.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you said that so well. And the mentorship and mentors can develop into sponsors, we hope, and people who will speak up for you when you're not there in the room, and they can help you with visibility and meeting other people. So super important, but it's not the whole picture, is it?
It
Yeah,
is not.
definitely. Yeah. So, what were some of the criteria that you were looking for when you decided to join the Sister Smart program?
So I was looking for someone that had performed at the level that I was seeking to get to. I want advice from someone who's been there, been in the trenches, understands the role and the level that's required to perform at that level of leadership. I wanted someone who would bring a customized platform just to help me understand some of my unique needs. I didn't want generic online content that didn't really address questions that I had. And I really wanted someone with a congenial demeanor because I was going to make myself very vulnerable and expose a lot of things that I struggled with, talk about my strengths and weaknesses. And I wanted someone that had a warmth to kind of help me embrace continuous improvement. And I wanted someone who was polished and professional. I didn't want someone that dressed more like a supermodel and the bare midriff exposed and the edginess and that didn't come in with a positive platform. I really wanted someone who was going to, motivate me, inspire me, encourage me. And so doing my research on LinkedIn, I noticed, Jill had all those qualities. So I really appreciated reading through the posts, the content. It was very positive. It was aspirational. It was very clear. I could understand what the program would offer. And so it was a great experience to kind of find something that fit my needs, which at the time I felt were quite challenging to find a match. But I think that going through the LinkedIn experience and then speaking with you, it helped me really understand this is what I'm looking for.
Well, that's so great. That's I try really hard to make that experience cohesive so that you know what you're getting into and you get the viewpoint into the program ahead of time, and so I'm so glad that that worked. What do you think was now that you're looking back, you came in with some goals, that you wanted to move up and, you were, struggling with this mentorship piece, but looking back, now that you've been through the program and you started with certain goals, but I'm wondering if looking back, you see anything different about what was really blocking you?
So I looked back and I'm a different person. I see the new me, I see the old me. I was doing some things that I didn't understand at the time were roadblocks to my success. I had some strengths that I was completely unaware of that I could have leveraged more. And I felt that now I've got a whole toolbox full of terminology and processes and books that I've read through our program that kind of give me in my mind, a competitive advantage to bring and leverage with increasing responsibility a lot of those new skills. And so it was something that in my mind became a competitive differentiator as well as made me more effective as a leader, as a communicator, and to do it in a positive way to get the results and, build those high performing teams.
That's fantastic. I love being able to give people a competitive edge because there's not so many roles at the top, and so it does get competitive, and we need to be able to bring your best game, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what were, some of the I'd love for you to share, a few more of the, challenges that you were facing that you can see now, as a woman in leadership.
So, being a former military veteran, I brought a certain style to my leadership. So, I was labeled too strong, too bossy, and that's highly likely that was true, and too direct. And that was a common theme, a lot of the feedback that I got and performance reviews. And to offset that, I was attempting to apologize for my nature and become self deprecating in order to bring myself on an equal level with those that were around me. And so
Mhm.
it was an exhausting emotional tightrope of not being too much me, but, making, great pains to make sure others were comfortable around me. And really, what I did is I minimized my value in certain rooms. And so
Mhm.
I had to understand that that wasn't the proper approach. And there are different ways that you can be effective and to how you can soften a little bit while still maintaining the essence of what makes you you.
That authenticity, being your authentic self is so much less draining than trying to fit into a model that, you've been told, we get all this feedback and then we try to do that thing. And it really helps when we can find the authentic version of ourselves, to bring forward. And I feel like you've really done that, so well. How did the program help you do that? Are there some things that you remember that, made the biggest difference for you?
It was a lot of fascinating content, a lot of great discussions with you. And we talked about social dynamics. It's, how men and women establish themselves in the pecking order, um, unique differences in how each gender approaches that. How do you place yourself at the appropriate level in the hierarchy? We talked about cultural norms. It was very enlightening because it was something that maybe I observed but didn't have the language around to really truly understand. And then we discussed, how do you respond to that? How do you take that information? And where can I leverage my strengths? How can I adapt in a more charming way? How do I continue to engage? And how do I establish my proper place in the hierarchy? And do that in a way that doesn't alienate others while minimizing my own value.
That's great. Are there, any certain modules or anything that stand out to you that were really helpful?
Communicating with impact was very important. I was a very detail oriented person trying to establish my brand in the company. I would do a ton of research. I would bring a lot of details to discussions. My emails were probably about the length of War and Peace. And my poor managers were exhausted trying to read through all the content. I wasn't sure if I had their trust. So I would bring all of the receipts to every discussion, and it took a lot of time to put all that together. And through the course and the books and some discussions and recommendations for me to do follow ups, it was clear that I needed to use more brevity in my communication. And, I was able to talk to my leaders and ask, do we have trust so that I can give you the high level key takeaway? And here's more context if you're interested. And so I became a much more powerful and clear communicator. It gave me a lot less anxiety because I understood that my leaders trusted the work that I was producing. And then because I was a clear communicator, I got volunteered for a lot more senior leader briefings. So because
Mhm.
I could keep my points short, I was able to save time for important dialogue and a little bit of that back and forth with good chemistry with senior leaders. So I would understand a little bit more about how to be more effective in the rooms that I wanted to stay in and have a seat at the table.
Yes, fantastic. I feel like you were also such an exemplary client with your own self-awareness and your willingness to, gather feedback and make changes. Can you share a little bit about that for us?
Absolutely. So in the military, you get a lot of direct feedback. Sometimes it's kindly worded, but often not. And so you get a pretty thick skin. And in business, you really have to understand that everything is a journey of continuous improvement. And the leaders that are giving you feedback, whether they're polite or kind or direct about it, it comes from a place of they want the organization to succeed. And so a lot of the discussions that you and I had were how to receive information and filter out, what was something that I really need to focus on and what was coming from a place of, maybe doesn't quite apply to me, or maybe it applies to someone in my organization, a member of my team, but always being receptive to that information. And then I felt like, a lot of the conversations we had where we would go through my performance review and say, where are the real opportunities that I can leverage some of my strengths? Because at the time when you're reading feedback on yourself, it's hard to step back and have an objective view and not get that feeling of defensiveness or guilt or as women, we tend to be hard on ourselves and quite self critical. So find a constructive headspace where I could really just take that information and leverage it and make it the most powerful ability to move forward with continuous improvement.
Yeah. And it takes some courage to do that too, I think, that really stepping into that moment where you start to ask for the feedback or start to read the feedback with that more open mind that you're talking about. It that is the spot where a lot of people will shrink back, but you didn't do that and you really stepped forward into it. And I think that's made a big difference.
It has, and I've actually had a few managers, they give me the feedback. They give me, here's the things you did well, here's the opportunities for improvement. And I've had a few after I respond with, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. And, these are things that I will take to heart and work on. They thanked me, which I was a little surprised at, but they said, I wasn't sure you were going to take that so well because I am very direct. And, they maybe have some history with people being defensive or not being able to, listen to constructive criticism. And
Mhm.
so was relief for both of us for me to be able to handle that information well, but also thank them for the input. And it might make it easier on them the next time they have to give feedback to someone that, this is part of the constructive process.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So, what does your role look like now, that you have a new job? And I would love to hear about what's rewarding about this change.
So I took on a new role. I was in a expatriate assignment living outside the United States at the time, and I was going through the SisterSmart program, and I had an upcoming point in time where I had to transition back to the United States and move into a new role, and it was a time of a bit of instability, not knowing what was coming next. And because of the performance that I was able to demonstrate, I was getting recommended in certain rooms that I wasn't in, and so the role was it was a large step upward. It is a very high visible role. It is a significant contributor to the business portfolio. And so it was requiring someone to come in and provide very strong leadership to the business to continue to help grow the team, build that high performance. And it was a completely different side of the business unit within my company, and so it was gonna require a lot of flexibility and adaptability as well as a relocation. And so 5 months in role, so far everything's been going great, and I've
Yeah.
leveraged a lot of my learnings, which I think have been a huge help to help me kind of move into that role and, um, make it as stress less as I could possibly make any transition into a new position.
You've done a lot of, moves for your company. I bet you've learned some things that you could share with our audience about that as well. What are some of the challenges and, things that you've learned along the way that can help for when you're moving, for a different role?
So I embraced that I am going to be bringing a fresh perspective, but I am the new outsider. Um, my husband and I have frequently moved for roles, and I think it comes from being in a good head place of you have to have that flexibility in order to be available for opportunities as they come open in the corporation. And I've moved a lot, so it comes with some experience of how to minimize the stress on my family. My family has been very supportive. My husband is a saint, bless him. He's been very supportive through these. But it comes with the understanding that you have to be flexible. You have to learn a new location. You have to, find a home. It's a lot of, the nuances around that. And my family looks at it as we're on a new adventure. And so we're going to establish our favorite restaurants. We're going to, find where's our local grocery store, the new place and home that we're living in. It's going to have new exciting things. And so we approach it from a place of this is a positive move forward. We will miss the old locations, but we embrace the new traditions. So while I recently was in Canada, we acclimatized to the weather. We got a new wardrobe. We found a lot of the local traditions that we enjoyed. I'm a lousy ice skater, but we gave it a go just to say that we fully embraced the experience. And so, just having the right mindset makes something that could be a little bit stressful enjoyable.
Yes. I've moved for work as well, and we had some great adventures, discovering a new area, and it's definitely, can be very rewarding. Although it does come with a lot of change, and, that's I feel like one of your specialties as well is that change management piece. I know that you were, this new role needed a lot of change management and a lot of, moving in a new direction. Can you share a little bit about how the program has supported you in that?
Absolutely. So, a lot of the content was around, how do you enter a new position, business unit, geography, and how do you embrace change yourself as well as work with the team to kind of bring them along in the strategic vision direction that you have. And so a lot of the content, kind of helped me prepare for coming in first 30, 60, 90 days. What does that look like? Not only for me, but for the team that I'm going to be getting to know and work with. How do I build a strong rapport with them? How do I establish psychological safety? How do I get the team to trust each other and build that good chemistry? And then how do I get an organization of hundreds of people to move in the right direction, kind of all in sync? And that momentum, you start to feel it. So 5 months in, it's exciting. You start to feel that energy. You can feel the excitement start to build. You're not the new face anymore. You're a little bit of a known. And so, people see you in the hall, they give you a high five, they say your name, you say their name. And so it just builds a little bit of, this is going to be good. And so it feels good to you, it feels good to them, and the organization starts to ease into a place of trust as well. My senior leaders would fly into town, and they would meet early on just to kind of make sure I was okay and that we were getting off on the right foot, and they you know developed a comfort level with observation in person, and now that's eased a bit into, we'll have an occasional teleconference. How are you? Are things still going well? And now that the trust is being built and the momentum of the organization, it's maybe less often, the visits as well as the check-ins. And so I feel like the program really gave me that framework to build a game plan that was going to help me, maximize the time, get those small wins up front, and just start to really build that momentum that the team is now starting to feel and getting really excited about.
Yeah, and you had to hit the ground running in this this role. Boy, they expected a lot in the first 30 days, and so it was, so great, the preparation that you did and how quickly you got this team to gel together and really increase their performance. I've been so impressed with that. Um, how about, what advice do you have for leading with your feminine strengths? Of, what have you been able to lean into that might be different from how the guys do it or how the traditional models, might be in your company?
It's interesting because my new role, today I have my makeup on, my hair is done, I get to wear my fun colors. Um, the industry that I'm in, it's highly regulated, and I have to walk into a manufacturing site, no hair products, no makeup, no jewelry. I wear a pair of captive pants and top that are conservative and they're muted colors, and so you don't really have those soft visuals to set the style and the tone. And so we all have our battle face on. We're manufacturing ready, and we
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on the production floor. And so a lot of the program helped me understand that, feminine energy, I have a lot of strengths around being naturally inclusive. Women want to bring people in, they want to collaborate. There's a warmth that we can use and encourage teams to help establish that trust and psychological safety, and the approachableness, how to maintain that, particularly when you're new. And, I'm a quite tall person. I'm about 6 foot tall. So coming in, no hair, no makeup, no jewelry, scrubs and captive shoes with steel toed boots on is not exactly someone that looks approachable. And so
Right.
the program, it helped me come to peace with, I gotta put the cute suits and my designer shoes in the closet, and they don't get to come out very often. But how to still respond in those rooms in that way without, my gear. And it was,
Yeah.
you feel a little bit raw and exposed, but I think the program really helped me without those things that I relied on. How can I, bring other things to the table to accomplish the same effect?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's such a great example because this has been such a stark contrast to, the office environment that most people are in, and so, yeah, I can't imagine not having makeup and hair products, and so I really give it
Well,
to
the
you for that
weekends.
one.
The weekends, the hair and the makeup and the jewelry comes out, and I'll take my cute shoes out for a trot around the neighborhood just to make sure they still fit.
Right. Yes. So, what would you tell someone who is on the fence about whether to do a coaching program or not, particularly with Sister Smart?
It's really an investment in your career. It's something that will help you build your personal brand. I wouldn't have gotten the benefit and the amount of time that I had available if I tried the self-help route. I didn't even know what books to go find. You can only listen to so many hours of podcasts, whether they apply to you and your unique circumstances. And I wasn't fully aware of a lot of the blind spots that I had. And so I needed a program to help me just cut through the volume and all of the content that was out there and get straight to what specifically did I need, did my unique situation need. And then how do I end up with the limited time and visibility that was so fleeting? You know, businesses move fast. So, with the visibility that I had in the moment, how did I capitalize and maximize that? And so, um, I had a very limited window of time to make an impression, and it had to be a great first impression. And so, if you're on the fence, this is something that you're investing in you, and you're reading the playbook of how to win at higher levels that you want to get into, and walking into that without preparation could be disastrous. Walking in understanding how you can maximize your strengths, how you can shore up some of your areas that you have gaps in, how you can really just strike that right tone and make your personal brand that much stronger. It's an incredible experience to go through, as well as something that I think women leaders should consider as part of our development. It should be something that you prioritize.
Yes, thank you. That's really great. I do remember, that you were so good at making time for this program. Do you have any, thoughts on a lot of women worry about, "Oh, I'm so busy, I don't feel like I have time." Any thoughts on how you or that you can share with us about how you made it happen?
Absolutely. I had just come out of a very intensive senior leader program at the company, and I was juggling 2 jobs, and I had just graduated from that program, and I was thinking, "Oh my goodness, I feel like I've just tumbled out of a dryer, so I need to take a moment and get my feet under me," but knowing that I had a job change coming and I had to prepare, I had to just say, this is important. It's something that I need to put into myself. And what I realized through, having conversations is I was giving away all of my time to others. My family had access to it. I had a lot of, work hours that I was putting in. And I had this epiphany that I didn't save any time for me. And there was nothing in
Mhm.
my schedule that said, here's how I can, upskill myself. And so I reached out to you. We started the conversations. I got a good understanding of what the time commitment would be. And then I started blocking my calendar and saying that these are top priorities. And it helped me learn to protect this time. And I was comfortable without guilt of saying no to others that would want to take that time. And I also learned I was doing a lot of unproductive things and habits that robbed me of, being more efficient and having more available time. And so through the program, I noticed my morning routine changed. I noticed my sleep was far more restful. I felt more at peace throughout the day. I was managing a lot of competing demands. And, I got a lot more of that work life balance that I was looking for. And so I couldn't see a path to that. The old me, the new me, I've got, a great routine that the program helped me um, arrange that works well in my situation, and I perform better. So prioritizing the time for you to say, if I was going to go and get an advanced graduate degree, no one would argue with you about why you think you need time to make that available. So why should executive coaching and investing in your leadership potential be any different?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. My last question for you that I ask everyone is, who is a woman that you look up to for her leadership? I think we all need more women to be able to look up to, and we'd love to hear who inspires you.
I really loved the two secretaries of state, Condoleezza Rice and Madeleine Albright. These were brilliant women, and they were pioneers coming. Madeleine was the first to come into as a Secretary of State as a woman, and Condoleezza Rice the second. And these two women were in male dominated rooms and they owned their
Mhm.
space. They had all of the knowledge. They, with grace and poise, represented themselves in front of international dictators. They were, just on a level of class and knowledge and intelligence. And I think that they really set the tone for other women that here's how you can maintain your feminine energy, but still own your space and thrive in those male dominated environments.
Yes. Those are great examples. I'm so glad you brought them up. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Christel. I would love to hear what you found most insightful about what Christel shared. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a comment and let us know what's an experience that's lifted you in a community of women. We'd love to hear about it. And if you would like to learn more about the Sisters in Leadership program and see if it might be a fit for you, click on the link below and listen to our private podcast at sistersmart.com. And I'll put that link in the show notes for you. If you want to dive deeper into women's leadership and how to move up in your career, subscribe either on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I'm on a mission to help more women get into leadership and stay there. So if that's aligned with you, I'd love to have you be part of this community and tune into more episodes on Sister Smart Leadership that will support you in becoming the leader that you want to be. If you're ready to fully lean into your feminine leadership and get promoted from director to vice president and beyond, hit that subscribe button so you'll get all the episodes to come. And check out the recommended video here to see how women are rising up without playing by the old rules that built these male-dominated industries and systems.